Alright guys, what is going on? BusterBarnes here, bringing you my Premier League 2020 to 2021 season predictions video, where I will be predicting every single team's position from 20th all the way to the top spot in the league. A different league this year, 3 new promoted teams, obviously 3 teams from last year, Watford, Norwich and Bournemouth no longer in the Premier League. So how will these teams fare? How will other teams fare? Will Everton improve? Will Chelsea improve? Will Liverpool win the league again? I guess we will find out. But if you do end up liking this video, guys, please be sure to leave a like and also comment down below your predictions as well. I would love to see what you guys think is going to happen. And also, at the end of this video, I will be predicting other things as well, such as the Golden Boot, Golden Glove, and other competitions like the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, and the Champions League as well. So stay tuned for that, guys. But yeah, obviously, you know, the annoying thing about doing predictions now is the transfer window has not ended yet. So therefore, you know, we could see some big moves. I'm sure there's other transfers that are going to be made, players sold, players bought, but you know, we have to go off the information of what we have right now, and to maybe predict a few moves as well, if some at the moment in time look likely to happen. But I've actually changed this, guys. I've been, you know, predicting the league for a little bit now, you know, changing positions, but actually today I actually changed the team that wasn't going to be relegated and now is, and vice versa. And I also changed which team I thought was going to finish 20th and 19th. I actually swapped them around. So, I mean, I guess it's not a big deal because I'll still be predicting them both to get relegated as well. But the first team that I have got finishing bottom of the Premier League is the newly promoted West Brom. I feel like this might be a popular choice. I feel like there's a few teams that everyone's predicting to be at the bottom of the league. But, you know, West Brom came up, got Slaven Bilic, obviously a Premier League experienced manager, but I guess didn't have necessarily the best experience in the league either. I guess he might be looking to, you know, come back. He's obviously got Dean Garner from his former club West Ham, which, as we saw, West Ham players were not happy about, the fans as well. Also buying Pereira, who was a big part in why they managed to get promotion from the Championship last season. But I just don't think it's going to be enough. They haven't, like, really strengthened in places. The team's not Premier League experienced either, not like loads of Premier League experienced players. Obviously they have, you know, Jake Livermore captaining them and stuff, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. And maybe for a good thing, you know, we don't want to have to see those away and fur kits again, do we? If you guys haven't seen my rankings of the away kits, please be sure to check that out using the I button up here as well. But yeah, that's West Brom, dead last, I am afraid. Who knows though what can happen in the game of football. Going up to 19th place, and it pains me to say it because I do love this club, but I have got Aston Villa, a historical club, but unfortunately I just don't see them doing what they did last year and escaping relegation. Grealish could maybe go in January, I guess we don't know. But, you know, he sort of carried Villa to avoiding relegation last season. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen again. They have bought Matt Cash from Nottingham Forest, who is a very promising young right-back. Was the best right-back, I believe, in the Championship last season. But they just haven't strengthened enough, in my opinion. They have Mings at the back, but they haven't strengthened, you know, his centre-back partner. Heaton's out for the first few games. Nyland's not a great goalkeeper. And also on the wings as well, they haven't really got great winger depth. And, you know, up front, they've bought Watkins, who could be amazing for them. He could save them from relegation. However, it is a big risk getting a Championship striker in. And for that, I'm going to have to, unfortunately, you know, play safe and have them in 19th place. Hopefully not, though, because, you know, John Terry, the assistant coach, I would love to see them stay in the Premier League. But now, in 18th place, this team was not here until about 1 hour ago when I was going through the business and the teams again. But I've actually got Crystal Palace, and I will say why I swapped these two teams when we get to the next one. But yeah, Palace, they have bought Eze from the Championship. Looks like a nice player, but obviously again, Championship risk. We don't know how good he's going to be. They've got Nathan Ferguson as well, who looks like a promising young right back from West Brom. I think he can play centre back as well. One to probably look out for your FPL teams. Ferguson could be a bargain. And also, though, the biggest talking point is Wilfried Zaha. Will he be there the whole season? Has he just given up? I'm not sure. I mean, he is entering the prime years of his career, and I have heard that in pre-season they may be trying to play him up front a bit more, I don't know. Crystal Palace could also loan Batshuayi or Conor Gallagher from Chelsea, I have been reading as well, which could be good for them. But yeah, unfortunately, they've just been sort of teaching above relegation so many times. I think this just might be the time that they go down. However, it is very tough between them and the team above, so I would not be surprised if these two teams do swap places. And the team that is above them in 17th place is actually Fulham, a team that a lot of people, I think, have to go down. But listen here, okay, so this is what I'm thinking. Okay, so Fulham have, a good striker. They have Mitrovic, a Premier League experienced striker. Scott Parker, the fire of, him being, a new manager, going back in the Premier League. I'm sure that he has a good relationship with the players as well, just being a sort of, ex-player, not too recently retired. So that could work out well for them. But I actually saw that they'd loaned Alfonso Areola from Paris Saint-Germain. And this was actually the move that got me thinking, should I move Fulham up? Because they have a good centre-back in Hector, from Chelsea, formerly highly rated centre-back. I guess maybe you could argue about, their other defenders, their midfield, they've got Reed back as well, and they've also brought in Lamina, who I did think was a nice player for Southampton, but obviously, does it say something that they wanted to get rid of him? I'm not too sure. But yeah, it is a toss-up between Fulham and Palace. I believe Fulham have, they have a Wolves winger as well, maybe, or maybe that's someone else. They have Knockout, I believe, as well, Premier League experienced. So they just have a little bit of an edge above Crystal Palace for me, but I wouldn't be surprised to see either of those teams, the other way round. So I guess we will see what happens with them. 16th place, I have Newcastle United. Now, they've actually done some quite good business recently. Fraser and Wilson, the front three of Fraser, Wilson and St. Maximin sounds great on paper. They've got some young midfielders, the Longstaff brothers as well, John Joe Shelby. And, their defence as well, getting Jamal Lewis, that's an improvement. If their defenders and their team can stay fit, I think this could be quite a good season for them. However, the reason I have them in 16th place is mainly because it's Newcastle and they're always prone to a little bit of a meltdown, the club sort of going into disarray. So whilst I think they have the quality enough to stay up, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Steve Bruce ended up getting sacked, they hired someone else. But yeah, I could be completely wrong on this. They might have a great season, but just because, there's always that, slight, potential of them going a little bit into a panic mode and the fans going a bit crazy, I have put them in 16th place. And above them is actually a team that I think some people have predicted to actually finish a lot higher, surprisingly. That is Leeds United, the highest of the promoted teams I've got finishing this season. And the reason I haven't got them higher, guys, it is because it is their first season in the Premier League. I know Bielsa's a great manager, but Leeds, they haven't, fully, completely strengthened the side. They've obviously got some players back. They are missing Ben White, however, which is interesting. He was a great centre-back for them. Also, I've just sort of heard this around. I'm not sure how amazingly true this is, but I've heard as well that Leeds usually have, a good start to the season, then drop off. I know that, they have a high intensity in how they play. Fitness could be an issue. I know they do get a lot of injuries. So with that, and with it being their first season, I think 15th place is a decent place for them to finish in their first season. I would, though, expect Leeds to be the sort of team that sort of has a lot of upsets, that gets the 1-0s against United or the 1-0s against Chelsea. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had some big victories under the tactical genius of Bielsa, but I don't think they will necessarily finish that high in the league. Just above them, I have West Ham. Obviously, like I said earlier, lost Dean Garner, so there's already some signs of disarray, which could mean that West Ham actually finish a bit lower. However, if they do keep Declan Rice, they've obviously got him and Souček, Lanzini in midfield. They have Antonio, they have Felipe Anderson on the wing. I do think they have quite a good team. They've obviously got their defence as well. Fabianski in goal. I think wasn't he injured for a period last season? Yeah, no, he definitely was, because they had that terrible Roberto, I think it was, in goal, who I believe they've sold now, so we won't have to worry about seeing that guy in goal. But I do think that David Moyes is a good manager, and I do think that despite, the sort of divide between the owners and the actual players and manager, I think that he will be able to push them to a respectable 14th place for West Ham, which is actually higher than what they finished last season, to be fair to them. So yeah, there is still business though they could make, so who knows what will happen with them. Going into 13th place, I actually have Brighton finishing 15th last season, going up a bit. I actually think they'll have quite a good season. I think, they've bought Lamptey, they've bought in Lallana. Lallana with the Premier League experience. I think Potter's a good manager. Like I said, Lamptey they brought in halfway through last season is a very good right back. They just look a lot more well drilled, a lot more solid. The reason I've got them in 13th and not a bit higher is just because their attack, Mapai, Trossard, they can be good, but they can also, go missing a bit. So, I think this is a good finish for Brighton 13th. They could finish higher. I actually did have them to finish, I believe, 12th or 11th as well. I sort of teetered around that sort of area, but I do think it will be bottom half of the table, but the upper end for Brighton. I do like Brighton as well, so that would be nice to see how they get on. Going into 12th place is actually a team that finished higher last season. That is Sheffield United. Now, they've done some good business actually, I have to say. Ramsdale in, I think is a good young English goalkeeper. They've brought in recently Bogle, Lowe, the two fullbacks from Derby, who are very, very good in the Championship. Obviously a bit of a risk there, but they still do have Baldock and Stevens. It'll be interesting to see how Bogle and Lowe get on. Bogle could be a very good wing-back, in my opinion, if Sheffield continue to use that system. So that could be a very, very interesting buy. One to watch out for as well on your FPL, including Ampadu as well, the loanee from Chelsea. Didn't get much of a chance at Leipzig last season, but when he did play, he was very good. Actually had an amazing performance against Spurs in the Champions League. Might have actually got man of the match that game. I'm not too sure. But the issue I've got here with Sheffield and why they're finishing a bit lower than last season is because of Dean Henderson. Now, if you actually look at stats and XG, Sheffield United should have actually conceded, I think it was 10 or 12 more goals than they actually did last season, but which shows just how good Dean Henderson was, keeping out loads of shots and making incredible saves. And whilst I think Ramsdale's a good keeper and promising, I don't think he'll be as good as Henderson was. So I do think that will, knock Sheffield down a few places. I don't think they'll get relegated or anything. I think the, signings they have made, the young players, are very good, so I think that will help them out. Maybe they'll finish, a couple places, a place or two higher, but I have got them in 12th place. Maybe Ramsdale will be amazing now, who knows? Got that Premier League experience under him now with Bournemouth. But yeah, Chris Wilder again, great manager. I am not looking forward to playing them. That is for certain next season. In 11th place, we have Burnley. Nothing really much to say. They haven't strengthened loads, but it's just kind of Burnley. Sean Dyche is a great manager, great tactically. They've got still great players, and the defence is solid. Nick Pope, good goalkeeper. Chris Wood up top. They've got McNeil. They've got good players. I think it will be enough to push them into mid-table. I think that they potentially will start slow this season, but they'll sort of pick up and get back into things. So yeah, nothing really much to say on Burnley, but I just think 11th place is good for them. They could be a bit lower, but yeah, I wasn't too sure where to put them in this video, so I guess 11th place will do. Okay, so now in 10th place we have Wolves, and you guys might be thinking, Wolves came 7th last season, why have you got them lower? They don't have Europa League this season, or at least I don't think they do. So, they won't have as much fatigue. But this is the thing, guys. There's not been a long break since the Premier League last season. And the fixtures are going to be more congested than ever as they look to get back on schedule, especially with the Euros next season. So, I think that fatigue will still, set trends at Wolves. They don't have the biggest squad depth. They've lost Matt Doherty, which is a big loss for them. They're still, they could replace him, they could play Traore at right wing back, they could, maybe play another one of their players, but I think it is a risk. I don't think they have the biggest depth. Jimenez, will he be as good as last season? I think he probably will be. Traore might get better as well, but I just think injuries is going to be a big issue. They have Fabio Silva, but he's very young. They brought in Marçal, a sort of left-back, centre-back. I think that's more of a depth signing than anything, but they are obviously solid defensively. So I think 10th place is where Wolves will finish. I wonder if they finish 10th place, if they'll get rid of their manager or not. That will be interesting to see what Wolves do there. I think they probably won't, but that will be interesting. But above them, in 9th place, we have Southampton, the sort of surprise team for me of the season. I think Southampton will do very well, although I say surprise, I think a lot of people know how good Southampton were last season, especially away from home. They sort of had two halves of the season. They sort of started poorly, but then, gradually got better. Hasenhüttl, a very good manager. They have obviously lost Højbjerg, but they have secured the signings of Walker-Peters and Salisu, who I wouldn't be surprised if Salisu was a player who became really good and Southampton ended up selling him for loads of money like they did in the past with so many of their players like Mane, Lallana, Lambert, Bale, all of those players that Southampton used to have. So I think that under Hasenhüttl they will do very well. I believe Southampton also bought a centre-back, I think, who looked quite good as well. So obviously they've got Danny Ings, Redmond. I think these guys will still perform this season very well. McCarthy and goal, a good keeper as well. So I think Southampton, the team to watch this season, and I've got them in 9th place. Going to 8th place, we have Leicester, who just missed out on Champions League football last season on the last week of the season. I've got them in 8th, a bit lower before. They've obviously lost Chilwell. There's questions, will Vardy be as good as he was last season? Potentially, he might do, but who knows? Wingers, they don't really have that great depth in the wing. Harvey Barnes is getting better, but Perez hasn't really been great. Maddison should do well, but, under Rodgers, they obviously had that big dip, from the top half, from the first bit of the season to the last bit. And, part of me just thinks it's going to be a decent year for them, but I don't think it's going to be anything amazing. Injuries could cause them issues. Will Johnny Evans be as good now? He's a bit older. Pereira's obviously out for the first few games. So I do think that Leicester will finish 8th. Still a good spot for Leicester. I don't know if Leicester fans will be disappointed. Maybe they will. But I still think that's a decent spot for them this season. And in 7th place, just missing out on the top 6, I have Carlo Ancelotti's Everton. Now, Everton, as we all know, have made 3 pretty big signings recently. They've signed James Rodriguez, who could be one of the best creative players in the league next season under Ancelotti. Some people think that, these players have, just joined Everton, it's the end of their career, they want paychecks, and that might be true, but also James has played under Ancelotti before, as has Alan, and I think these 2 players are Ancelotti signings, and they will improve Everton's team. I don't think there's any way you can say that these don't improve their team. With Everton as well, they have Calvert-Lewin, who will always be improving. Maybe Moise Kean will finally find his form. Richarlison on the wing. Right wing's a bit of a, will one of their right wingers step up? Iwobi or Walcott? I'm not too sure. Their defence still has questions over fitness. However, there is a rumour at the moment that Chelsea may loan Fikayo Tomori to them. I'm not too sure how much there is in that, because I know Lampard recently also said that Fikayo's still in the team, so I'm not too sure where that's going. But if they sign him, that could be very good for them defensively, as Mina is quite injury prone. Right backs, they have Coleman, who's getting a bit old, but I still think will do a job. They have Digne, who's a very good left back, probably number 2 left back in the league last season. Pickford, question marks over him. Will he, get better? Will he still be poor? I'm not too sure. That could be an issue. But Ancelotti overall is a great manager. He's finally getting some signings that he wants. Doucouré, some people seem to think that he's not a very good player. I'm not saying whether that's true or not. However, with James and Alan seeming like very Ancelotti signings, is it fair to say that Doucouré could be an Ancelotti signing as well? And if that's the case, then is he seeing something we aren't? I do think that a midfield of Alan, Doucouré and James could be very decent, so it will be interesting to see what they do. Will they play a 4-1-2-1-2 with maybe Gomez in the midfield, and then they just play Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin up front to sort of fix that winger issue? I'm not too sure. I could see them playing a number of formations, so I think Ancelotti will have them very well set up for some of their games this season. But now, getting on to the top 6, and it's the it's the classic top 6. I have got all sort of teams that are considered in the top 6 as well. I do think that some will improve, some will get worse, but I do think that will be the block. The top 6 block will be a very familiar sight. In 6th place, I have Arsenal, winners of the FA Cup last season. They did look very impressive. They beat Man City in the FA Cup. They beat Liverpool, so impressive wins, beating Chelsea in the final. The issue I have with Arsenal, whilst they've signed Willian, who I think is actually going to be a very good signing for them for at least this season. I'm not saying that a 3-year deal for Willian is going to be good throughout the entire 3 seasons, but I do think this year he will perform well for them. They've also signed Gabriel at centre-back, so they have him and Saliba, which could be a great duo. We don't know, that could honestly be a very good duo. Tierney coming in a bit more fit. Will they choose Leno or Martinez? I have a feeling they'll probably stick with Leno in goal. They've obviously got Ceballos back on loan, which is big. When I look at it, there's a lot of positives for Arsenal, but we have to remember, they finished 8th, so finishing in 6th is an improvement. I am saying they will get better. However, last season, and this could be because they weren't really in the Premier League, like in the Premier League race towards the end, but they were beating the big teams, but they were losing to the small ones. And I wonder if Arteta has figured out yet how to beat those smaller teams, kind of like a Lampard issue last season. When you're against the smaller teams who, sit back and counter-attack, how can you deal with it? And I'm not sure if Arteta has figured out how to do that yet. Bringing in Willian, a guy who didn't really seem to be able to deal with it last season, is that going to help? I'm not sure. But that's why I've sort of got Arsenal in 6th. Arteta is a good manager though, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him somehow burst into the top 4. 4th to 6th place, I could see sort of any of those teams rotating. But I have got Arsenal in 6th, which is the safe pick in my opinion. 5th place, I have, maybe controversially, Manchester United. Now, they've signed Donny van der Beek this season. They have Dean Henderson back from loan. Now, will Dean Henderson push David De Gea out of his spot? I'm not too sure. Will we see them rotate? Would rotating them cause problems, with the chemistry between them and the defence? I'm not too sure. But Van der Beek is the only big signing they've made at the moment. Going into their defence, Luke Shaw is alright but could have a bad season, you don't know. I don't really rate Lindelof. Maguire's a good centre-back, but is he great? Probably not. I used to really rate him, but seeing some of his performances last season, he had some really good ones, but also got done sometimes as well. Wan-Bissaka will improve as well, but maybe a bit questionable going forward. Midfielder Van der Beek, Pogba and Fernandes sounds great, but I'm not sure if all 3 of them will play at the same time, unless we see maybe a diamond with Matic. I think if Manchester United made another one big more quality signing, maybe I'll be a bit more convinced they get into top 4. But I just think they might just miss out with, the club was a bit up and down last season. They had their, bad run of games. They had their high run of games, and I think that will probably continue, to be honest. So, I've got them in 5th place. They could finish 4th, but I am going with Manchester United in 5th as my official prediction. Will Greenwood score as many goals as he did last season as well? Because he was overperforming XG a lot, so it'll be interesting to see if he does continue to do that, and it will be interesting to see as well if Manchester United receive as many penalties as they did last season. They probably will, let's be honest. I mean, their players just fall over in the box all the time anyway, so they're probably going to set a new record for penalties received in a Premier League season. So, that should be not fun when we're playing them. But anyway, Manchester United in 5th. Going on to the top 4, the Champions League spots. 4th place, I am going with Tottenham Hotspur. Main reasons because of this. Højbjerg, very Mourinho signing, I think will be very, very good for Tottenham and perform very well for them. Matt Doherty at right back. Questions about that because obviously for Wolves he played more as a wing back, so will he be able to, fill in right back as well? Obviously they still have Aurier at the moment, so maybe they'll keep him and they'll sort of compete, which could be quite good. Obviously them selling Walker-Peters to Southampton. They've obviously still got Alderweireld, they've got Sanchez, Tanganga as well, looks like a promising centre-back. Will we see more of him? I think, this is Mourinho's 2nd season. Obviously there's the sort of stigma of Mourinho performs best in his 2nd season. Maybe now that we're all saying that it won't happen, but I don't think this means that Tottenham will push for the title or anything like that, but I do think they will get a good solid 4th place. I think they'll, play fairly boring football. Kane, I actually think Kane will perform quite well this season, although there is news that apparently he's got an injury already, so maybe that could be an issue for them. But they've still got quality players. Ali, I think will be a big player for them this season. Son as well, the quality there. I think they have quite good depth as well. Tottenham, Bergwijn, Lamela, Mora. They have just Ndombele, Dyer, I could just name a few. They have quite good depth, Spurs. Probably maybe the third best depth in the league behind Chelsea and City. So I think that this will be enough to give Tottenham fourth place. But as we know, it is Mourinho. Anything can happen in that team. They could all fall apart. So I guess it will be interesting to see. By the way, let me know what you guys think of the All or Nothing Spurs documentary that just came out. I'd love to hear what you guys think of that. I'm actually quite enjoying it at the moment. Those All or Nothing documentaries on Amazon are a great watch, I have to say. And I believe the next 3 or last 3 are going to be out on Monday. So that should be fun to watch as well. But moving on to third place, and maybe this is the most controversial choice that I've actually got. Now, my brain says that Chelsea will finish third, but I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to go bold. I'm going with Liverpool to finish in third place. Don't get mad at me, guys. Don't get mad. Hear me out. This still probably won't make too much sense, but I'm going to go for it. Liverpool, have performed great the last 2 seasons. Could they perform that great again? Yes. However, they haven't made any big signings yet. They've made a bit of a depth left-back spot, which is quite good for them. They will probably sign Thiago, so that could be a very good signing for them in the midfield. However, I am thinking, Milner's getting older, Henderson's getting older. Henderson was actually a key player for them last season, hence why everyone was calling for him to be player of the season. Also, injuries were not a problem for Liverpool that much last season. They obviously had Alisson out, but Adrian sort of wasn't very good, but it wasn't the biggest loss, to Liverpool. However, Van Dijk and Salah, if one of those guys gets injured for a fairly decent chunk of time, that will spell issues for Liverpool. I'm also going with the sort of trend that it's quite hard that Premier League teams usually retain their title, so I think that makes it a bit less likely Liverpool will win. I do think they definitely could win the league. I wouldn't be surprised to see Liverpool win the league. However, maybe it's bias, I don't know. I'm just going with Liverpool to finish in third place under Klopp. But yeah, maybe they'll have to drive. They didn't win the Premier League last season in front of their fans at the stadium, so maybe that is the extra motivation they need. But they just sort of dropped after the restart, and whilst they'd already won the league, you wonder if that drop is going to continue a bit into this Premier League season. Maybe not, but I guess we'll see. As well, usually for teams to retain their title, they do have to strengthen fairly considerably, but Liverpool do have a great starting 11, so I guess maybe that won't be too much of an issue for them. But now in second place, it is Manchester City. No, I'm joking. It's not Man City, it's Chelsea in second place. A bit bold, to be honest. If Chelsea don't finish in second place, I won't be too disheartened. I think third place is where Chelsea's expectations are set, and I also think that even if Chelsea finish fourth, but they improve in points and they close the gap to first, I don't think that's bad either. But I think obviously top 4 is a must for Chelsea. It is risky going with a young manager like Frank Lampard getting second, but we've strengthened loads. I think that really what this rests on is the goalkeeper. Now, we're obviously linked to Edouard Mendy, who is an interesting choice of goalkeeper. I think as long as he's average, then that's a lot better than Kepa was last season. Like, a lot of people ragged on Chelsea's defence last season, and I'm not saying there weren't games where we were bad. Against Sheffield United, against West Ham, our defence was not very good at all. However, Kepa conceded, like I said earlier, Dean Henderson saved 12 more goals than he should have. Sheffield United should have conceded 12 more goals than they should have. Chelsea should have conceded 12 less goals than they should have last season. But it just shows that Kepa was a terrible goalkeeper. And if we didn't have Kepa in goal, and we just had an average keeper who saved the shots he should have, had like a XG against, minus of 0, and he was just exactly the same, we probably would have been in, for sure, third place. We would have definitely been in third place, competing with City for second. So I do think that, getting a new goalkeeper is crucial, but I also think Chilwell, improvement at left back. Thiago Silva going to bring some more solidarity to that defence as well. Him paired with Zuma excites me. Him with Tomori excites me as well. Reece James rotating with Azpilicueta at right back. That's promising. If Kante can stay fit, that's a big plus. And then you obviously have the excitement of Havertz, Werner and Ziyech. Now, the reason why this could be very bold is because obviously it could take these players time to gel. So we could definitely see some games where maybe things aren't always clicking and we do drop some points. But, you know, screw it, why not? I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm going to go with second place. And our boy Frank Lampard is going to do us good. You guys probably disagree with me, Chelsea being second. But, you know, why not? And, you know, we have great depth as well. We might actually have the second best depth in the Premier League, so that could definitely help us out in a very condensed Premier League season. But anyway, enough about Chelsea. I'll probably get onto them in a separate video where I talk about their expectations and preview their season more anyway. So in first place, we do have Manchester City winning, I believe, their third Premier League in 4 years. And it is interesting because when I actually look at what they've done, part of me wonders, why am I going for them in first? But I just feel like the fact that they didn't win the league last season, they're going to have that extra drive for the league. I think Sterling's hitting his prime. I think if Laporte stays fit, that's crucial. Obviously, he missed quite a few games last season. Bringing in Torres, obviously replacing Sane. Probably not as good as Sane, but will add good depth to them. Ake will be interesting to see if he starts with Laporte. I'm not too sure. I think he probably just got signed for depth, which is, you know, it's quite funny how City can, you know, spend 50 million on a substitute. You know, Chelsea aren't even doing that. We're spending loads of money on starting players. City is spending this money on substitute players. But I do think, however, that City are going to make one more big signing in the league. It could be Koulibaly, it could be someone else. But if they sign Koulibaly, him and Laporte with, you know, Walker, who I still think is great, or Cancelo, and, you know, the left back, maybe left back's an interesting position. Maybe they still need to strengthen in that. But, you know, Mendy could pick up his game. We're not too sure. But, you know, their midfield, Rodri, De Bruyne, you know, maybe Foden and Bernardo Silva. That's still a great midfield, still quality. Sterling, Mahrez, Aguero and Jesus. You know, if Aguero obviously gets injured and Jesus does as well, you know, it's basically, you know, destined to happen that Aguero gets injured. You know, Aguero would have won the Golden Boot so many times if he could just keep on top of his fitness. But I still think he's got enough in him to have another good season. So I am going to go for City to win the league. I do think that Liverpool could... Look, with Liverpool, it's going to go one of two ways. They're either going to win the league or they're just going to slip down a little bit. But I am going to go for City. I think that they will strengthen more in this transfer window. I think they will probably strengthen in January as well. So I do think that they will come first. So yeah, those are my Premier League predictions. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about those and tell me your predictions as well. But like I said at the start of the video, I was also going to be predicting other sort of statistics, you know, Golden Boot, Golden Glove and the top assisters in the Premier League. So for Golden Boot, this is interesting actually. I think I'm actually going to go, I could go with Aubameyang. It could be Danny Ings again, who even knows? Well, I mean, it wasn't Danny Ings last time, but it came close. Vardy, I don't think it will be. I'm actually going to go... You know what? I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go with Raheem Sterling to get the Golden Boot. I'm pretty sure I said in my FPL video that was released a few days ago that Harry Kane would get it, but I'm sort of, with the injury, I'm sort of backing out of that a bit. Why not? Let's go bold. Raheem Sterling to win the Golden Boot, guys. Why not? I've got them to win the league, so, you know, why not do that? Top assister, I'm going to go with De Bruyne again. I think some players will get close. I think Ziyech could be up there competing with him if, you know, he, you know, keeps fit. I think there's, you know, other City players as well, obviously. But I will go with De Bruyne to keep that spot. Alexander-Arnold as well actually could be up there. That would be amazing if he got the most assists as a right back. That would be crazy. I mean, he's always up there anyway. But like I said, I think Liverpool are going to slip down a bit, so maybe not. I'll just go safe and go with De Bruyne. Golden Glove, so most clean sheets. Obviously, you've got to think Nick Pope. Obviously, you've got to think Alisson, Ederson. I'm actually going to go with Ederson, I think. Well, I've actually got the City clean sweep there. That probably won't happen. But I think City, with Laporte, if he stays fit, they will improve defensively. I think Rodri's getting better as well. And obviously, if they get Koulibaly, that'll be amazing for them. So I will go for Ederson to get the Golden Glove as well. Kind of regretting those choices now that I've picked all City, because it usually doesn't end up that way. But Why not? Why not? Let's see what happens. But getting in to the other competitions this year, first of all, the Carabao Cup. You know what? Carabao Cup, I'll go with Chelsea to win that. You know, I think Chelsea, or hopefully praying, will win one of the FA Cup or Carabao Cup. But I'm going to go for the League Cup first. I think we have good depth. You know, it sort of takes place in that sort of cluster period of the season. So I'm going to go with Chelsea to win the Carabao Cup. FA Cup, I think I'm going to go with... You know what? Because they came third, I'm going to go with Liverpool to actually have a good cup run. I know that Klopp doesn't usually focus on domestic cups, but I think if Liverpool slip down in the Premier League a bit, he might focus on them a bit more. So why not? Liverpool to actually win the FA Cup this season and still, you know, have a relatively good year. You know, Champions League, then Premier League, then FA Cup. That's a good 3 years for them. And then, you know what, let's predict the other top 4 leagues in Europe. France, I'm going to go with PSG. Spain, I'm going to go with Real Madrid, actually. Barcelona seem a bit in disarray, so I'm going to go with Real Madrid to win La Liga again. Germany, I'm going to go with Bayern Munich, safe choice. And in Italy, I'm actually going to go a bit out there and say Inter Milan will win the Serie A. Juventus obviously got Pirlo in, obviously sort of new and young, sort of new manager, so I'm not sure how well that will work. Obviously their focus is Champions League, so maybe Inter can pip them to the top of Serie A with Conte, who's obviously a great manager. And then we'll get on finally to the 2 European competitions. Europa League, I'm actually going to go with Spurs. I think they'll finish 4th, and I think they'll win the Europa League. This will be the Mourinho second season. This will be where Mourinho gets Tottenham their trophy, I think. The trophy they've wanted for so long, I think Mourinho will get it for them, and I think it will be the Europa League. So that would be good for Tottenham if they do get that. Obviously some other teams in the competition as well, though. So, like Arsenal, I believe, at Inix, they won the FA Cup, and Leicester as well. So some good English teams in Europa League, so I guess we could see how that goes. Maybe another reason for why I've got Leicester slipping down a bit. They've obviously got the Europa League this year, so maybe a bit more issues with fitness for them. And then finally the Champions League. I haven't really thought about who I think is going to win the Champions League. I think the main contenders, I don't think City will win it. I don't think... Liverpool could win it again, actually. That's actually not a bad shout, but I'm not going to go all Premier League. I will go... could Bayern win it again? You know what? I'm going to go with Real Madrid to win it, actually. I'm going to go with Eden Hazard, Chelsea boy, Eden Hazard, finally winning the Champions League. That's why he left Chelsea, really, was to go to Real Madrid and win the Champions League. So that's what I will predict to happen. But yeah, that is it, guys. That's my Premier League predictions video. Man City to win the league and Chelsea to come second. You'd love to see it. Not sure if that's actually going to happen, but why not throw it in my predictions? Let's make these predictions fun and interesting, guys. You know, why not? Obviously, I'll come back to these at the end of the season, you know, eventually in a year's time, and react to how I did. You know, I could get some right, I could get some horribly wrong, but that's the fun with it. I hope you guys did enjoy. As I said, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the BusterBarnes YouTube channel for more of these footballing videos. You know, Fantasy Premier League, Chelsea, Premier League in general, FIFA 21 when that comes out as well. Trying to keep the daily schedule going, guys, and I think it's going quite well at the moment. So yeah, hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you next time.